And we're live. Welcome to the third session of Swarm's AI Career Triathlon. As I've been saying for the previous two sessions, this whole day of programming is focused specifically to help you manage and improve your career in respect to the developments of AI that you're seeing every day, every week, every month. Um, my name is Joaquin Milana, and I'm the founder of the Swarm community. And with us today is Sruthi Radhakrishnan. We're going to be talking about a project that we've been developing, incubating for the last year or so. So, with that being said, Shutri, the floor is yours to give a little bit of a self introduction and yeah, tell us who you are and what you do.
Yeah. Thanks, Jochen, and hi, community, and thank you for everybody for joining the session. I'm Shruti. I work as a data scientist at Sixt. I work in the intersection of Gen AI and also agentic AI workflows, basically building the infrastructure of how to use Gen AI, how to kind of make use of best tools, best models, and so on and so forth. Have been working in the field of AI for almost like 4 years now, full time. Previously, building MVPs and scalable applications in multiple automotive, aerospace, tier one, tier two companies, and solving use cases. So, one of the things that I always say in my self introduction is I think AI should make all our lives a bit easier and not busier. That's exactly what this session will be about, on how we created AI Infused, why we created AI Infused. If you're interested, how you can contribute to AI Infused, and also like just a sneak preview of all the editions that has been published so far. So, Jochen, can I get started, or how do you see it?
No, that sounds perfect. It sounds like you just set up the transition for yourself. Yeah, what was some of the motivations behind AI infused?
So, first, I would just like to recap a little story and then show you some slides, like very pre ones that we created. When I met Jochen, I think 1.5, 2 years ago, he was also doing Swarm's Career Expo, or Swarm's AI Expo, I would like to say it. So, Swarm's Expo was one of a kind event where it brought a lot of domain experts together. When Jochen reached out to me, I saw how good the community was and how it was evolving. Then I asked, hey, do you have a newsletter? And then Jochen said, hey, why not? So this is the start of something that we thought would go further and further. And that's what we are trying to do in a very consecutive way. So having a newsletter, first of all, everybody says AI is kind of like taking over jobs, AI is kind of like doing this, that, and so on and so forth. And you also always have to be updated about the field that you're in, and you need to know whatever AI that comes in your way. Actually, when you think about it, it's quite overwhelming. Like, you gotta ingest all this information around you, whether it's LinkedIn or a tool provider or some sort of article coming in, and so on and so forth. All we fall back to is some sort of curation, like curating it and bringing it together to you. And it needs to be authentic. It need not to be like a marketing signal. It need not to be like always like premature or like riding the hype kind of things. This is exactly the intention behind AI Infuse, to bring these authentic voices into perspective, to take real people, have conversations with them, or learn from their journey, their future vision, and how they see it moving forward. What do they see is working? What do they see is not working good so far? How you can apply it in a real time, and so on and so forth. So this is the intention of why AI Infused exists, and also how it kind of like it's shaping people's perspective on observing good signals rather than noises out there in the internet.
Yeah, wonderful. And I think if you'd like to cover a little bit of the proof that we did last year with Women in AI edition and how that sort of informed our production capabilities and the direction we're taking now, I think that would be a good direction to take this.
Yeah, perfect. That sounds great. Let me share my screen. So I think you should be able to see my entire screen.
Yes, it's visible. Mhm.
So this is exactly what we wanted AI infused to be for. As I said, it was like a casual conversation, and then it became like an idea. It got nurtured over time, and then the first edition that we did in AI infused is actually like a digital book, which is basically like a space that brought in women in AI together in all fields, which is like STEAM, science, technology, engineering, arts, management. And they helped us to sketch what was about to come in the new editions that we are moving with AI infused. So, as I said, it started as a newsletter, and then we wanted to do like a little bit of interviews. That is when it got to be this digital book, which I think Joachim kind of like drove. Nadia was contributing the whole of the graphics and then bringing in perspectives from this 38 remarkable women who works in the intersections of artificial intelligence across domains. So I would just say the first edition, when we did it, we actually kind of like underestimated how much time we need to spend in bringing all this together. So it took exactly 8 months last year in order to bring this live. And this piece is actually like a living example of how the knowledge is being shared, what opportunities that does people get in order to know their own journey. For becoming AI infused, I think this kind of made the career path a little bit clear, because each edition kind of also gave a perspective of who the person is, how they started their career, or how they kind of like moved from different roles in their career, how they see the future moving forward too. So yeah, if you want to read the full edition, here is the link. Probably we can also post it in the chat.
Yeah, I
And
put it in the chat. Let me see if I could put it in the comments. And
yeah, that would be great. So if we could put it in the comments, people can also have a look, and kind of it's like a virtual book, so you can also have the feeling of reading a book. That's what I feel whenever I look into the magazine. Now it has crossed around like 1,000 views. Last time I checked, you can please correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah, I think it crossed 1,000 views so far, and this is gonna be a living document of anybody to kind of like come back to, even the people who got featured in the magazine, to look back and see, hey, 1 year ago I did this, and then now things has changed, and this is what we are working on. So change is something which is always like constant, and being adaptive kind of helps you. And also leaving this digital footprints by contributing or by reading or by getting in touch with a person also helps you to kind of like grow and adapt as a person. I think this is how we see the first edition of AI infused. Jochen, what are your perspectives on it? Like, how do you see the first edition is setting the tone for upcoming editions to come?
yeah, first of all, I want to point back to what you said. We thought it would be easy. Originally, we allocated 3 months of time to produce the whole thing, and the scope and the timelines and revision iterations came into the picture, and graphics and layouts and a bunch of other graphical editorial monkeys came into the picture. Um, but the intention behind this whole project was to produce culture, produce an artifact that paid mind to and celebrated women as a core protagonist in this emerging field. There had been a lot of complaints around the underrepresentation of very talented women, and we found it to be a worthy goal to celebrate everybody for the different domains that they represented and the different social industrial contributions that they were doing in ethics, in mental health, in workforce enablement, in education. I mean, that's just like four out of the 38 stories. There's a lot of different stories: manufacturing, so many different industrial sectors, life saving drugs. There's so many different things to look at. But yeah, I was just very pleased to give. the final birth to the project, because it served as a good base for us to take a step back and think about how do we increase the frequency, and how
Yeah.
do we make these stories relevant and accessible in a scaled down format like the newsletter that we had originally discussed.
Yeah, very, very, very true. I think the kind of journey is what is helping us to shape where we want to focus more and where we want to like automate. In the previous talk, also with Garima, they were like talking about the process that we follow, the human process, and which processes should be automated. Like not just using AI, but also using like templates, having like the writers team and so on and so forth. So rightly said that this kind of like helped us to shape what was coming now.
Yeah, it's been an interesting exercise to learn how to work within the constraints and volatility of human creativity. It's not always a straightforward process to say, hey, let's write about this. I mean, sometimes you write about something and you're like, well, that draft was a dud, or it wasn't representative of the message that I wanted to say, or maybe somebody writes two sentences versus someone that writes 4 pages. You know, there's so much variability across
Yeah.
individual preferences and habits and creative states of being. Some people are just expressive and they can tap everything away in a matter of 20 minutes. Other people take longer, slower, like maple syrup, you know, slow and sweet. So yeah, it's just an interesting exercise. But yeah, as Shutri mentioned, we took that and we made that the base for how we're producing our articles now, and it's also a continuous improvement effort of where do we standardize operationally, how do we improve ourselves manually, and which are the aspects of this creative process that we can remove altogether with automation. We still haven't fully implemented some of these things, but it is helpful for at least high level analysis and understanding where the gaps are or where the redundancies may be in some of our arguments, written arguments. Um, but yeah, uh, you wanted to transition into something else, Shudri?
Yeah, so basically, like when we were just talking about how we set the tone, how we set the process, and so on and so forth, one of the things I think this is also the first and most important one for this particular series as well, which is AI career development and learning. That is basically we want to hear from people's journeys on how they kind of like started getting into AI, what kind of outlooks that they have that made them transition to an AI specific role. For example, I would again like to like go back to the previous talk because then it is very easy to connect the dots where Garima being an ontologist, ontologist was viewed as a very different perspective, but now it has changed into using AI for understanding ontologies, not everything, but kind of like giving the perspective. So I cannot read about like an ontologist and using AI, but when I hear from a domain expert, it makes it very clear. So this is exactly what we want to bring into AI Infused on how the career development and learning skills, especially when you learn from the people who use it, that makes it very clear and also like very understandable. This is also applicable to the other three kind of like overarching pillars that we want to build inside AI Infused. The second thing is AI ethics and human impact. As I initially quoted in my introduction, how can we make AI more robust? What are the ethics that are around AI? How to use AI ethically, and how does it affect affect us as humans? Let's take like one example for each. In the second example, I can think about if you see a company or like a person who is kind of like working in a big corporation, there is always a compliance team that kind of like adheres to certain regulations, what to ship, what not to ship, and so on and so forth. But with advent of like AI agents, I think we are bombarded with a lot of information, and we need some clarity, especially from those thought leaders, to kind of like bring it moving forward and to spotlight them on how they see AI is impacting humans. And coming to the third and fourth, so we are always like stumbling upon the thought, which is it's not AI who is going to replace you, it's the AI the person who knows how to use AI replace you. But it's not about like replacing or in general or anything like that. You should try to adapt by learning what tools are out there. Can I make this tool to make my life easier? Is it having a real world impact? For example, one such thing is like Claude Cowork. I think many people kind of use it in order to make their sorting very easier, give their workflows, give them reminders, and so on and so forth. There are like very tangible impact of these tools and how they are used in real world. That is also something that we would like to showcase in AI Infuse, and that's also happening now in the new editions. And finally, not so when we publish the first edition, like after the work of art Jochen, we'll also see the edition that has been published so far. When Stratos was writing about neurosymbolic AI, I think people were not very much aware of neurosymbolic AI, but now I see a lot of adoption. I think one of the prominent persons talked about neurosymbolic AI. There are many people who are talking about how to ground AI, how to kind of like make AI more reasonable, and so on and so forth. So if you want to also know new innovations and new ways, like how do we see AI going forward in 3 months, how do we see AI going forward in 6 months, we are not talking about years, because with the pace that we are currently moving, I think you need to be updated and have a view on what is coming, what innovation is coming forward. And when you hear it also from the domain expert on a storytelling view, it kind of helps you to be more collaborative and also bring new perspectives into whatever you're working on. I think these four are the main themes, and we are also um, seeing a slight difference in what we build differently. As I first said, these are kind of like curated learning resources. You hear it directly from the person or the career driven individual who is bringing this into perspective. They are writing their experiences, they are writing their own viewpoints, they are writing how they see it moving forward, they are giving you tips, they are giving you kind of like this easy to go guides on reading and observing and using it on where you see these high signals coming from. So just these four things, it's kind of like very individual. It has individuality, it has authenticity, and it helps readers to set their perspectives. So we don't put any marketing, or like there is no like fluff inside what you do, what you don't do, and so on and so forth. It's like, okay, what is being done, what was the outcome, and how can you use it? So it has been like very authentic so far, all the editions. I think that's the difference that we are making with other newsletters. I would also like to hear like Yorkin's perspective on it, on how we build it differently compared to other newsletters.
Yeah, I think you hit it on the head as you're describing what makes us where our focus areas are. I've always held in great esteem and with a lot of enthusiasm things that are independently produced that have a handcraft feel, story driven, personal experiences kind of shared. It feels like a privileged conversation that you have with a colleague, and yeah, there's something special about that intimacy that we try to reflect in what we do. So with some of the things that we've done so far, it's been sort of like experiential, but the focus right now is not so much to have a particular signature that's going to emerge over time with volumes of articles that we produce downstream. But right now, it's sort of how do we work together as a human team that is enabled by AI tools and how do we cooperate with the world so that we can diffuse things in a productive and truthful manner.
Yeah.
Um, that no fluff, no excessive sponsors has been the underpinning of everything through Swarm. Everything has been practitioner driven, individual driven. There's no agendas. We're here to provide value, and however that looks, it's going to be different. But we're here to experiment. So, with
Exactly.
that being said, it's a dialogue. If you have any questions or if you have anything that you want us to satisfy, we're here to serve.
Yeah, totally agree. I think it's like kind of what adding on to what you said. It's very human centered. So it's like talking to your colleague, talking to your friend, talking to your family member, and learning what they are doing, how they are doing it, what problems you face, and you kind of like try to overcome it by working in a very collaborative way. So, just a sneak preview on. So, this was something that we planned over the over the years, and then these are like editions of AI Infused. Would be also great to put the getainfused.com, the domain for the listeners. So first edition is like exactly what we are like transitioning from, which is made by humans for humans. And then we started with kind of the symbolic AI. It's a great piece where starters, I think Garima also does an um, exciting job in bringing the reviewing part very exciting together. In my LinkedIn post also, like I think I have mentioned, for example, when you're around people who do stuff that you like, then you're also tending to write more, learn more, read more, and so on and so forth. I think that's what happened with like when we started doing this editions. So it's starting from symbolic AI. I think hybrid, the second from Ben, the edition from Ben was also like quite interesting and kind of like bringing it forward. Hybrid AI is also like very something to look forward in the 6 months, I would say, on how symbolic and sub-symbolic systems are bringing it together. We also had open dialogues, which is like a supplement for AI Infused, where we talk about each editions and get the domain experts to kind of like have more about like questions. And also the article, the Metaxi article was also like quite new, I would say, especially with the agent context. Your agent might try to break a lot of stuff. So knowing um, what not to do instead of doing something, or kind of like being precise, is what Metaxi touched with. I mean, these first two articles were more a touch of how generative AI is used and how we can make it better, and Metaxi was more about how precisely can you do your work, how to touch certain things, how to not touch certain things. And
Yeah.
the last, yeah, you want to add something, Jochen?
Yeah, just to add to that, I mean, you're going to see a great variety of um, technical depth and writing style, because it's driven by either someone on the writing team or a guest contributor. And then it's sort of massaged with the various team members that we have. But yeah, the Metaxi one in particular was something that I hadn't quite tackled on before, but George Heiler wrote about an open source project that saves 95% of the compute costs associated with multimodal pipelines, something that is a pervasive problem in machine learning and multimodal kinds of work streams. So, this is sort of, with it being exploratory, you're going to see a lot of different domains that you would not typically see in a more niche or focused kind of publication. But that's part of the fun. You get a little mystery with every different article edition coming out. I see it as a draw. Someone might see that as maybe a little bit ADHD like, but over time, I think you'll see a little bit more homogeny. Um, yeah,
Uh, yeah, exactly. I think like being you nicely said it. Like you don't feel like you're learning something new sometimes. Like I think that's how that's how you related it to like ADHD, because it's like all these articles, they bring something new to you. You're not in this space to kind of like think, or like you're not like kind of like going into this direction every day, but rather you come back to it to see how we would like to go forward in the next 3 6 months. I think Metaxi, neurosymbolic AI, and the hybrid AI, all the pieces are in this kind of like line. That's why I wanted to like address all three together. And when we come to like what Christina has produced, what Bilal has produced, and what Kamal has produced, I think they are also in the direction of checking how we move forward in a different domain. For example, when Christina wrote about how AI is integrated in medical school, we always have this discussion in Swarm on how critical medical field is, how regulated, how compliant, because you're really like dealing with human life. So that set a different perspective on in general like education, and also like give readers the perspective on the different kind of domains that we tackle in AI infused. Then it again like boils back to Bilal's article on how LLMs are being used excessively in generating ontologies, because these fields and these keywords like ontologies, taxonomy, domain modeling, DSLs, domain specific languages, like many things are kind of like getting updated or kind of like adapted with LLMs, and how we see it moving forward, or what it lacks, what we have to bring in order to make it more sustainable and more robust. So I see that kind of perspectives there. And the final edition, it's not the final edition, but the latest edition is basically like what do you need to know in order to go through AI, because the decision making is at the end of the day is kind of like also like very deceived, because a business person might have a very different perspective on how they see AI, and then the technical person will have a very different perspective of how they see AI. So what are the things that you need to evaluate? What are the custom matrices that you kind of like need in order to make a demo to a working prototype? So with the current advent of, I think the future articles are also like address this to some degree on how not to kind of just give the raw values and raw prompts, but rather like set up like a workflow, set up like a co-working setup on how you use AI as a thinking brain. So yeah, exactly, this is what variety that we are bringing with AI infused. And you can see like these are people that are working in this domain, actively contributing, trying to collaborate. So in case if you find any articles interesting, I think sure there are many. So please feel free to like contact them, give them feedback, and see if you can find a way to work together, and yeah, learn from their perspectives. I would really be happy to learn about your experiences in reading the newsletter, and also like collaborating with people on different topics. Jochen, would you like to add something to the latest editions of AI Infused?
No, I think thematically you covered the major the additions that we have so far, and there's going to be other observations coming up in governance, and how to create these hybrid AI systems. How do you take advantage of statistical AI with the reliance and consistency, robustness of deterministic AI? And that's kind of the idea, to be sitting outside of the marketing hype
Yeah.
and discuss these ideas both in the written sense and Shutri, as you mentioned, with open dialogues, which is the companion, the oral companion of AI infused, where we can verbally discuss these ideas in both formats, so we can just steep in this culture and derive more crystallized insights. Just talking about and writing about these things helps us sort of make more sense of these things. And you know if you have any burning questions, again, I have to invite you. This is a way for us to all learn collectively together.
Yeah.
So that's the basis of this: fully transparent, community-driven conversations, community-driven content. Uh, if you have anything in particular, even if it's just an idea, let's explore an angle and see where that goes. Kamal, in particular, he's talking about project management and prototyping, and how do you develop a strategic ROI from a particular investment in a prototype. That's cool, and I think that's a lot of things that are happening behind the scenes of corporations that not a
Definitely.
lot of people feel comfortable talking about, but it's certainly something we can take on and move forward with.
Definitely, definitely. I think that's what we need to like bring forward. More people talking about their ideas, more people bringing their perspectives, so that we can learn from the shared experiences. With that note, I would just like to say, and then hand over to Jochen, to kind of like, if you're interested in contributing, or like in general, like any feedback to AI Infused, please reach out to us in comments, or in the upcoming releases, with the website and so on and so forth. And we are really looking forward for the upcoming releases, and I hope you stay tuned for seeing them, reading them, learning more about them. So yeah, and thank you.
Thank you,
So
Shutri.
over to Jochen. Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to take a brief break, and then we're going to be back for the first panel discussion. So we'll see you in about 8 minutes or so.
Thank you, everyone. Bye bye.
Thank you.